Trust but verify is the famous phrase, but let's be honest. The people living near the Suncor refinery don't trust that place. So neighbors are trying to verify if Suncor is meeting emission standards. They've been monitoring the air themselves. They tell our Mark Salinger they have evidence that people in the area are breathing air that can make them sick.
We're used to seeing Suncor like this. Now researchers want you to see it from their point of view.
The majority of the pollution that you should be concerned about from a health standpoint is not pollution that you're going to be able to see with your naked eyes.
Andrew Klooster shot this video with a special camera that can see things like volatile organic compounds. He's working with the nonprofit Cultivando. Today, they released their findings after monitoring the air around Suncor for a year.
There is a lot of air pollution that is occurring from this facility that is potentially having an impact on the community that lives around this facility.
The Latinx community group, Cultivando, set off to do its own research, saying they don't trust the state or Suncor to accurately monitor pollution coming from the refinery. Among the key findings, the group says Suncor is a source of airborne radioactivity, multiple types of pollutants, and short spikes in pollutants based on season and time of day.
Tengo 18 años viviendo en Commerce City.
Cristina Ruiz lives a couple of miles from Suncor and works with Cultivando. For years, the group says they've received complaints from people nearby with kids with nosebleeds and headaches. She worries about her own.
Pues este trabajo también más que nada lo estoy haciendo por ellos, porque quiero que mis hijos estén sanos.
Suncor told us they launched their own community air monitoring program in 2021. The refinery says their tests show pollutant levels have remained below the guidelines set by the state and federal agencies.
I personally don't feel that it's safe to be breathing in this air.
For Olga Gonzalez, the director of Cultivando, her organization's new research shows what she says she's known for a long time.
It wasn't so much that they didn't know they were being poisoned, but to the extent in which they were being poisoned was really shocking for everyone.
Suncor shut down in December because of an equipment malfunction, and it's just now becoming fully operational again. The researchers at Cultivando were monitoring the air during that time and say they did not see a significant drop in the amount of pollutants in the area. They say that could be because of the weather or cold air trapping pollutants closer to the ground.
Yeah, that was a really nasty cold period of time, and we know the inversion was kind of sitting over the city. You can imagine, Mark, that parents would be angry to find out what their kids are breathing in, but you were saying that some of them felt guilty.
Yeah, some people were telling me that they were blaming themselves for some of their kids getting sick, for having nosebleeds or headaches throughout, and now they see this research as a way of kind of explaining all that and saying, well, maybe I'm not just a bad parent or something like that, like they were kind of blaming themselves for, and now they say, hey, maybe it was just the refinery and what they were breathing in.
Mark, thank you. For anyone under the mistaken impression that youth violence is just a Denver and Aurora thing these days, 12 schools in Brighton were on alert today because of a shooting that reportedly involved students from 3 schools in town. One person has injuries and is going to recover. Police first responded to the calls of shots fired near Innovations and Options High School. That's off South 9th Avenue and Bush Street. Schools throughout the Brighton area spent the afternoon on what's called secure status while police were looking for the suspects. 2 suspects were eventually arrested near Prairie View High School, third one later. Police believe the victim was taken to an urgent care for treatment. District says that they've received reports the shooting involved students from Innovations and Options High, Prairie View High, and Brighton High. Police have not yet confirmed that students were involved. If you missed last night's debate in the race for Denver mayor, it was fiery and it was thoughtful. It was uncomfortable at times. It was also sometimes laugh out loud funny. And most of what the candidates had to say was true. When it's questionable, they wake up to a morning after message from our Marshall Zellinger and his truth tests.
And why not go back to the drawing board?
Let's start with a question Al Gardner had for Debbie Ortega about the future of Park Hill Golf Course. City Council has already approved the framework of what could be developed if ballot issue 2-0 passes. Gardner questioned Ortega about how little affordable housing he thought was approved.
10% is set aside, which is around 300 units for low mixed income units.
First of all, it's 25%. That is what the community benefit agreement calls for.
Ortega is right. If 2.0 passes, the developer is bound by several agreements. They say 25% of the homes built must be income-restricted units. Gardner's 10% number actually represents the number of affordable units that must be for sale, not rentals.
This is not an internment camp.
Trinidad Rodriguez wants to forcibly institutionalize Denver's homeless population and hold them against their will in what he calls a field hospital. And he repeatedly said state law is on his side.
It's just not illegal. There's Title 27 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. There is Title 27 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. Under Title 27 of the state's Colorado Revised Statutes, there is the power for governments and certain organizations to actually intervene when people are of danger to themselves and others.
Title 27 is the behavioral health section of Colorado state law. It includes a provision for emergency 72-hour mental health holds. And like Rodriguez said, it's when a person is a danger to themselves or others. And Title 27 defines what that means. And the definition is not being homeless. It requires evidence of threats or attempts of suicide or serious bodily harm, or harm to another person through evidence of harmful behavior. Again, evidence beyond simply being homeless. Our final truth test is from a question Andy Rougeau asked Leslie Herod.
You previously said in the summer of 2020 that you support divestment 100%, that you saw your police accountability bill as the first step towards defunding the police.
I did not speak about divestment of the police. In fact, I talked about how we created STAR in the summer of 2020.
No, Herod has talked about divestment of the police, and she's quoted in an article on 303magazine.com saying, I support divestments 100%. However, that is not the same as defunding and eliminating 100% of a police budget. In 2020, Herod answered a question during a Fox 31 forum about the STAR program and relying on co-responders and not necessarily law enforcement.
When we talk about defunding the police, we're talking about divesting in those programs that harm our communities. That means putting more money into mental health resources, taking money away from jails and stop relying on incarceration to fix our issues within our society.
Those are three of the issues that just rose to the top after a 2-hour debate. Lots of things get said, and I'm sure some candidates will say something in the moment and they know maybe it's not quite accurate or not quite what they meant to say, but those three we felt needed to be cleared up the next day.
Yeah, absolutely, because we want it to be accurate. And we should acknowledge it's a difficult thing to do, to speak extemporaneously for 2 hours on a topic. The bar rises, though, when you call somebody out for something, when you make an aggressive claim and it's wrong.
And you make that claim with, I mean, we could look at that last one, Rougeau versus Herod, and he cited an article from 5280, and it wasn't 5280, but it took us to a different one, 303 magazine.
Yeah,
that's slight, but then you get into the nuance of, like, did she really want to just say $0 to the police budget, which was, I think, the intent of what that was getting at. No, let's give it the context that it deserves, and you can't do that in the moment. Be like, hang on, I know that article. No, I don't know what article you were talking about in the moment. Give me a day, and I know the article.
Marshall, thank you. So there's a store of sorts in Denver where kids in need can come in and go shopping for a whole wardrobe of clothes, no need to pay. They walk out more confident about going back to school and taking on all the challenges in their lives. This week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports Clothes to Kids of Denver. The nonprofit feels more like a clothing boutique where kids from families with low income or families in crisis can come in to shop for clothes. They're going to help those kids feel comfortable and confident. They leave with a whole wardrobe of items, so hopefully they're not as self-conscious around their peers at school. It's easy to see how that confidence then translates into better performance in school, and not to mention just, hey, happier kids. Clothes to Kids made a change during the pandemic. Most of the families coming to them have an official referral, like from a social worker or from a school. But that official referral is no longer required, because sometimes they come via word of mouth. And the nonprofit knows that if a parent has the courage to ask for help, they need help. Their kid needs clothes. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. We have watched your $5 micro giving turn into more than $10.5 million worth of good for Colorado. So as always, I'll match the first 50 viewers who donate $5 to get us rolling. Clothes to Kids is all about giving young people confidence. Pile up a bunch of our $5 donations, and that is a lot of sharp-looking, happy, confident kids walking around.
It's deadline time to join Colorado's new family leave program, and most local governments are like, nah, we're good.
East Colfax is real Denver. It's home to some of its brightest spots and toughest problems.
East Colfax is a place that has some really special businesses and a wonderful history.
Some who live along the facts worry that advertising for new visitors will gentrify their unique place. That's next. States rolling out a new paid family leave program this year, and local governments are overwhelmingly opting out for their employees. Deadline to decide is the end of the month. This year, employers and employees are supposed to start paying into a family leave program, and employees will be eligible for that time off next year. The fund is designed to help people who need to take up to 12 weeks of paid leave for things like the birth of a child or taking care of a sick family member. Voters approved the program in 2020. Local governments are allowed to opt out of paying into the fund for their employees, meaning that employees who want to participate have to pay their own premiums. According to the department overseeing the family leave program, about 1,250 local governments have opted out so far. That is 81% of all of the local government bodies in Colorado. Now, that's not going to doom the program's long-term funding, according to the organizers, so long as private employers get on board. Private businesses have a harder time opting out of this. They have to prove that their private family leave plans provide equal or better benefits. The state did not have an estimate for us on how many private employers plan to take that route. Tonight's next question comes from a viewer frustrated with the rollout of Denver's new trash and compost programs. A1 Organics, the company that handles the city's compost, says it will no longer take some traditionally compostable stuff. They're worried about contamination. Viewer named Paul wanted to know why the sudden change. So, Paul, this is all because this is the year that Denver's expanding composting services to about 15,000 new customers, first-time composters. A1 Organics is worried that all the newbies are going to contaminate whole truckloads of compost by putting in items that can be problematic for them. So Denver's compost program will no longer accept things like paper towels and napkins. The paper itself is not the issue, but often there's non-compostable chemicals or grease on them. And you spoil the whole truck. They have to throw it out. So starting next month, people in Denver are only allowed to compost food scraps and yard clippings.
Oh, it was a good day, a day in the 70s. We officially touched 71 out at DIA, the first 70-degree day so far this year, the warmest day, of course, that we have seen in 2023, and the warmest day since November 8th. Wow, it was pretty toasty off to the eastern plains, too. Mid to upper 70s lining up the eastern plains with 40s and some spots in the low 50s up into the high country. We've been monitoring the storm system that has been impacting our friends up in the mountains. Steady snowfall coming through across the Eisenhower-Johnson tunnels. Had a couple of quick sprinkles and mostly cloudy skies here for the metro area, but we're gearing up to watch a cold front push through later this evening, and that's going to bring us a bit more wet weather, not just around here, but also up into the mountains too. More heavy snow on the way. For now, the rain showers confined across the northeastern plains, but all of this pushes in closer here to the city by about 8 o'clock tonight. This is 11 p.m. Heavy rain showers along the I-76 corridor. Temperatures finally get cool enough overnight into early tomorrow morning. 4:30 a.m. We're talking early that it finally switches over to snow. Ed Green will be here tracking this system for you, but it doesn't look too terribly impressive for the Denver area. Everything kind of pushing out by about lunchtime. We'll be left with a cool and cloudy day and possibly a slushy inch or two that could slow you down for the morning drive early tomorrow. Otherwise, the high country all lit up as far as advisories go in blue. The warnings in red for easily 1 to 2 feet of snowfall coming out there. Temperatures tomorrow are going to hover in the 30s, just kind of touch the 30s, and then we'll be hanging out in the mid to upper 20s throughout most of the day. We clear out with some sunshine for you for your St. Patty's Day. Looking good for the weekend, still on the cooler side, but temperatures should be warming up just a bit into early next week as we welcome in spring.
Some people who live and work along East Colfax want visitors to look past the negative headlines.
It's a greater collective of different cultures than I found anywhere else in the city.
So we'll head there next. I'm biased on this next story. I love East Colfax. I mean, you got great hole-in-the-wall restaurants, other businesses, less of the chain stuff you see elsewhere. You can still imagine that part of Colfax as the east-west highway before the interstate, because it hasn't been completely redeveloped and condo crammed at every intersection. That is not a universal opinion. East Colfax certainly struggled with blight and crime and homelessness. Now the neighborhood is having conversations about becoming a cultural district, and East Colfax's fans are split on the idea.
East Colfax is a place that has some really special businesses and a wonderful history.
My name is Chichi Andasola. I'm the owner of Chichi Limited Real Estate and the Speakeasy Hair Company.
My name is Jambo Lejones, and I'm the owner of Jambo Motors.
This corridor is one of the most diverse corridors in the metro area. We have folks from Ethiopia, Latin America, and Burma all running businesses on this corridor.
I'm Chicano.
I'm originally from Ethiopia.
I think bringing light to the businesses and the cultures that are represented here in the East Colfax neighborhood, it's very important to myself as a business owner and also as a community member.
So what you're looking at is the Fax Partnership and East Colfax Corridor's new logo to designate East Colfax a cultural district. So we're calling it the East Colfax Cultural District. It's from Monaco to Yosemite. And the whole idea with this district is to celebrate the diverse businesses that are here now.
Most of us, we are so excited to have in that cultural district.
I think it's super important to have that kind of, not a rebranding per se, but a claiming of the culture that lives here.
My name is Brendan Green. I'm the co-founder and executive director of the East Colfax Community Collective. So we deeply support the vision of the cultural district, but think that critical backstops should be put in place first. We have to address the factors that are pushing displacement first, and then in its right time move forward with the promotion of the district.
We believe that you have to support who's here and that change is going to come whether you fight it or not. And so we're trying to define that change and make it be to help those who are here now.
But I think overall the cultural district being claimed by the community is a huge win for us.
We're back with your feedback and how we're working together this week to help kids face the world with more confidence. Next. The Close to Kids boutique looks like a clothing store. It just doesn't have a cash register or another place to check out, because it's actually a nonprofit that offers whole wardrobes for free to young people in need. Kids come in and they walk out with several outfits. The nonprofit knows that clothes that kids feel great about equals confidence, and then that leads to success in school and in life. I'm up to buy some outfits for kids who could use them, for families who could use a hand. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me in donating to Close to Kids. They operate off a really simple philosophy. If a family comes to them and says they need help, then that family needs help. Nothing more complicated than that. Love that idea. Your feedback tonight, largely about last night's debate. Ann writes in to say, didn't know how you'd pull this off with so many candidates on stage. We had 11 of them. But she said that she thought that Marshall and Nusha, all of us, did a great job. She said the format and the moderation enabled me to form an opinion not based on 30-second sound bites. Ann said that she appreciated the one-on-one interviews, but seeing them together and interacting was eye-opening. Yes, this is why you do the debates, because you want to know, is the person you're going to vote for mayor somebody who can handle criticism? They blow their stack. It's useful to see ahead of time. I'm just saying. SK, is it possible to watch the debate somewhere? I missed it. Yes, on the next YouTube channel and on 9news.com. And Roger says Kyle's just another political hack wearing a journalist's tie. You got me there, Roger. Good work. We'll see you next time.